I'm going to eat a couple leftover pancakes from pancake breakfast, and James going to have some pizza that I made, and some blueberries for dessert and an orange. And this is sausage from my pancakes for pancake breakfast. And I was going to mention the blueberries. I bought them for very cheap, $1.79 for this pint. And that's cheaper than this bag of peanuts. And honestly, what's a better treat, right? Yeah.
It's not just a better treat, but healthier.
Yeah. So James is going to talk about music scene a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about Buddy and that Delgo movie. And first, though, I'm gonna read a poem. So we'll see how that goes. And we'll see how this goes. I'm trying to shade my camera so it doesn't get too hot, because it doesn't like to get too hot. So anyway, here's my poem that I wrote, My Sleeping Dogs. And I wrote that today, August 24, 2024. I wrote it in the morning. I watched a show with dogs who help the blind and folks with disabilities each day. I thought that watching them would help me find more love for mine at home. Well, anyway. I turned to watch my dogs, who laid around me on the bed, there at my side and head. They slept there comfortably without a sound. The one kept guard, the other warmed my bed. When they're both sleeping here, they're at their best. In bed, these sleeping dogs do comfort me. But they would never aid my getting dressed or bring me things to live more easily. When they're awake, they make more work for me. I'm not their boss. They treat me like their slave. If they're not treated royally, they pee. And when I'm worked to death, they'll nail my grave. Although these dogs will never pull their weight and make my life quite miserable by times, at night, when sleeping here with me, they're great. I almost can forget their daily crimes.
Oh, what the hey is going on?
Very upset.
What
I think that was fighting. Yeah, I think they're like doing a territorial thing.
It could be.
These chihuahuas are mine to eat. Wow.
And there's another
lots of busyness.
Moved into the neighborhood.
Yes. I don't know what that's all about.
Chihuahuas be a bit big. The ones we've got left are too big. But we one died about half a year ago.
Yeah, it would have been a good size.
And well, she died of old age, really. I think it was a stroke, but
yeah. But
she wouldn't have been able to fight them off or anything like that.
So,
although she did try to stand up for herself when the biggest chihuahua we've ever owned lit into her, because well, the big chihuahua almost tore the little one's ear off one time. But Angel would kind of stand up for herself.
Well, yeah, she would.
Yeah.
But anyway, she outlived the big one. She
did, actually, yeah. By many, many years, in terms of actual age.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sad losing both of them.
Yeah, I love them.
They were close. Well, it was really sad, but I would say. Just don't want to overstate the case.
Anyway. So, you know who's getting the sausage.
They're getting some sausage. That's from a little bit of pancake breakfast and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's either going to go down our gullies or the dog's gullies. It goes to a good cause.
Mm-hmm.
The pigs have already been killed, or whatever goes into that stuff.
But yeah, we only went to one pancake breakfast this year. I meant to go to two, but
yeah. Actually, yeah, you went to some burger afternoon or something like that. I just missed it. I'm not a big fan of burgers anyway. They must have some other stuff. I'm kind of eating the buns from the burger. And that was at the City Hall. So Pauline wouldn't eat the burgers. So you were mentioning something I was going to segue, and then I forgot what the segue was. Yeah, you want to eat that, so
Mhm.
well,
Well, you may as well, because that's the top of the
and
stack
I'll
thing.
let this cool up. Yeah.
So,
Well, I'd put it at top of the.
well, it's top of this stack.
Top of the stack. Of course, it's the only thing that I'd have on my stack. Yeah, it was. I'd forgotten the host of the show, something like a stand-up comedian, and apparently from Winnipeg.
Oh, really?
Winnipeg, Canada. I think it's the only Winnipeg in the world. So I just finished watching the third disc in this compilation from December 22nd, 1969. Dates do go back that far. For some of you folks that were born too late to see the 20th century. So that disc started out with Davy Jones, and that's not David Jones as in David Bowie. This is before Bowie made it big, although he was kind of percolating under. He might have been in New York at this time, trying to get in with the Andy Warhol crowd. He did try that before he became famous. Some people's books infamous, but his name was David Jones apparently. He didn't want to be confused with Davy Jones. Why? Davy Jones was, he didn't want to be confused with anyone, but particularly with Davy Jones, because Davy Jones was the wimpiest of the monkeys, of the four monkeys.
Yeah, I put these pancakes in the toaster, and they fit perfectly in there. And they were great and soft for like a second, and then once they started to cool, they're all hard again. So not the best.
Anyway, the monkeys were they weren't exactly totally wimpy. One of their tours, they actually had as an opening group Jimi Hendrix. I am not kidding you. Jimi Hendrix, apparently the Monkees fans did not take very kindly to Jimi Hendrix, and
Really?
well, and I saw her face, and then it was rocking out and playing all sorts of weird guitar and stuff like that, playing the guitar behind his head, back, whatever, with his teeth. Yeah, he would have just been way too old for the average age of Monkees fans. I mean, I was a Monkees fan. The first record I ever bought, it would have been in early 1967, was the Monkees' first album, which would have been released in late 66. I soon got over that, although I listen to this stuff now. I get some of this stuff secondhand. Listen to it now and I go, that actually wasn't that bad in comparison to some of the crap. It was even out then and by comparison with almost anything. Now, for grown-ups or for kids, it's at least one cut above. So Davy Jones, the group had split up. They'd actually been cancelled. Like no one apparently raised a fuss when show that broke big around the same time the Monkees show broke big on TV. Batman, no one, when that was cancelled very early, apparently a few people complained, but when the Monkees was cancelled, lots. I think it set a record for complaints, I guess through the U.S. mail, whatever, maybe over the phone, maybe a lot of nasty phone calls. So by this time, I can recall, when was it, 60, it might have been 69, it was 68. I can remember the Monkees did a cover version of, it wasn't Along Came Jones, D.W. Washburn, but it was by same guys that wrote Jailhouse Rock, Hound Dog, but it's kind of a campy kind of song. I don't know if it's really, or if the fans were terribly thrilled, they just bought it out of habit. That was followed up, so Davy Jones did a song called Together, which I'd never heard of. Came out dressed quite spiffly. I was very impressed, like a frill front shirt, a pink shirt and a red jacket. I didn't like the pink that much. The red jacket looked pretty spiffy on him. Wish guys would dress like that nowadays, but a person dressed like that nowadays, they'd be seen as being flaming gay. That's perfectly okay to be that, but guys should be able to dress however they like without having people making judgments about whether they're gay or not. Anyway, Davy Jones was followed up by Frankie Lane, and he was dressed as close to hippie as someone who kind of came out of that crooning tradition, crooning a la Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, a couple of mafia. Oh, there's some dogs that are going to get some treats here.
What they are.
Yeah!
Were you good dogs?
They were good dogs with James.
So
they listened all the way through Frankie Lane.
They are going to get good treats.
And they didn't complain once. Actually, Frankie Lane did a pretty good job. He came up with a kind of hippie scarf around his neck instead of a tie. A double-breasted suit. It didn't really hide his pudgy middle, but he had some good pipes. He did Jezebel, which I don't think I'd heard before. Sounds like something Tom Jones might have done. And then Lord, You Gave Me a Mountain, which I've heard Elvis do any number of times. And well, Frankie showed off some pipes there. You know, he gave Elvis a good tussle.
There you go. That's it. That's all I have.
And then it was followed by Frank Lane was followed
you got too excited.
Gordon Lightfoot. Okay. From, I believe it's Orillia, Ontario. Some people might consider that to come from the big smoke to be in northern Ontario, but it's really basically southern Ontario as far as I'm concerned. Orillia. This is before Gordon Lightfoot became a big item. That didn't happen until 1971. How did he end up on a show like this? Well, I think he had, Gordon Lightfoot at this point in time had a high-powered folk manager and rock too. There's a guy called Albert Grossman. He was Bob Dylan's manager. I think up to this time, maybe even a few years later. Bob Dylan eventually funded him. Janis Joplin's manager, I'm pretty sure by this time. The band's manager. Ian and Sylvia's manager. Ian and Sylvia never really made it big. I think they actually deserved it. Ian made it big in the country field after he dumped Sylvia. Of course, he would have been cheating like a chimp on her all through their marriage. I think he was just a cheating chimp. Of course, Gordon Lightfoot apparently was. And so what Gordon Lightfoot did was one hit that was a hit for someone else.
He's not going to give you anything.
That's what you get for loving me. And I was kind of taking Stephen Stills down the other day, yesterday, for writing Love the One You're With. But I guess Steve was just being honest. I've always thought Gordon Lightfoot was being honest. You know, he'd write songs about being drunk. That's what Early Morning Rain is partly about. I'm stuck here on the ground, as cold and drunk as I could be. And eventually gave it up, I think, the alcohol. He ended up living a fairly long life. I think he's dead, but he died fairly recently. But yeah, it's got some really hard as tax feelings. That's what you get for loving me. It's something like, that's what you get for loving me. You know, like, I've had 100 like you, but don't be blue. I'll have 1,000 before I'm through. That's not. I gotta laugh at Mick Jagger singing love song. It's not quite like You're the Only One or stuff like that. Of course, there's always Under My Thumb. I mean, he tends to be honest eventually, but. Yeah.
But yeah, we forgot to mention, if you borrow this from the library, like we pressed the play all, and somehow it skipped December 22nd, 1969.
Yeah.
It played the one afterward, the first two, and then the one after, but it didn't play that.
This-
episode. So,
yeah.
but when you select it on its own, it will play.
Yeah, so
So-
I was pretty glad about that because
Yeah.
looking at the program notes, that might have been the one I wanted to see. I didn't want to see Davy Jones particularly or Hero.
Yeah.
He's a handsome fellow in a good kind of way. Didn't want to see Frankie Lane. He had a rather bad toupee on. That's okay. I think David Steinberg has a not so bad looking toupee on.
Oh, you
But
think that's a toupee?
It could be. I don't know. There doesn't seem to be much of a part on it. You know? That's usually a sign.
Oh, okay.
And then, but I wanted to see
that's
Gordon
gonna stay
Lightfoot.
either.
He also did one called Saturday Clothes. Not one of his best vehicles, but what the heck. He was dressed nicely. You know, he had a blue shirt on, matched his blue eyes, and then kind of like a tan suit, really, bell bottom. It kind of matched his hair. I'm
Yes,
like,
you were
wow,
talking about
nicely
how you
color
used to
coordinated.
like how men dressed in the.
Yeah, so even Gordon Lightfoot, who came from a folk tradition and slash kind of almost country tradition, he was kind of dressed in a colorful way. I can't stand guys who wear that army green, where they're wearing black or gray or stuff like that. Baggy shorts, what's that about? You look like you pooped your pants, guys who wear baggy shorts.
Or like this shirt. Honestly, even women don't dress well anymore. This my night shirt that I wear
Yeah,
a lot.
It's home
I wear it.
wear.
It's very comfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't hurt my back at all. So
Yeah,
you see
it's-
me
it's
wearing it a lot,
important
but
to wear
it's
loose
hideous.
stuff
I
when
know.
you're sleeping,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, sleeping's different. When you're out and about, guys especially, like, show a little color sense. Yeah, I know you might get beaten up by some militia type who thinks you're a gay person. Please, please. Then they strutted Chuck Berry out. He might have been about 40 at this point in time.
Yeah,
he was still doing the duck walk. He was still doing the splits, and he'd come out of the splits.
Oh.
He did stand up straight. You know, like he had real problems. Sometimes I call him Chuck Dingleberry, but based on
Boy, oh
some
boy,
of
I
the
can't
stupid things
camera
that he did. But he got a fine figure. I gotta say, he's always handsome as 10 movie stars, as someone once said about Elvis Presley. Chuck Berry, before I think he's 30 when he became famous. When he's in his 20s, he was absolutely stunning. So he did a couple of short versions of two of his big hits. Beatles, what the heck? Johnny B. Good's done by everyone. I'd say done to death, but you can't beat it to death. It's too good, folks.
It's way too alive.
Yeah.
It will never die.
And I shredded Jerry Butler up, and I'm glad Pauline didn't see it, because he was dressed so poorly. So he's a soul performer. He's wearing pink, and then a black pants, black mat, and then a shiny black vest, and a horrible colored, I can't even remember what the color is, kind of scarf or something like that, the way some of the guys, some of the guys were wearing. One of the worst suits ever strutted out here, you know. They brought John Sebastian out here in one of these things, and he looked worse than even, you know, tie-dyed and all that sort of stuff. Worse than he even looked at Woodstock. Anyway, Jerry Butler, what's the use of breaking up? You know, I'm going to compare and contrast it with something that was on the bonus tracks.
Yeah, there was some good stuff on there.
There was. And I just finished watching R.B. Greaves. I didn't know who the hey R.B. Greaves was. I can remember hearing this song. It was kind of Latin sound, horns and everything like that. I thought it was just some white guy with a sense of rhythm. But R.B. Greaves is African American. I just found out now. And it's more than, what would it be, 45 years later, something like that? 55. And he did a great job, and he'd actually picked something that made sense. You know, the lyrics are kind of snappy. I don't think he wrote them. If he wrote them, more power to him. If you're still alive, R.B. Greaves, I wish you hadn't been a one-hit wonder, a wonderful one-hit wonder. You know. But yeah, I watched Walk Right Back at Everly Brothers. I always used to think that song was a little bit wimpy. My mom would actually sing it. I think it came out between 1959 and 1962, and it was on the radio. We kind of played soft rock and soft pop, really, on the big radio we had. I remember hearing that one. My mom, it seemed to impress her. She's 31 years older than me. They had Sonny James and Some At Your Baby. I can remember liking that when I was a kid. Sonny looked as though he had a rug on his head too. But What the Hate did a pretty good job. Zager and Evans. I can remember picking berries in BC, but they were saying it hit the charts in July 12th. And we picked berries July, all of July basically, in 1969. 70 was a little short of that. It wasn't a good year for the raspberries. Lower Mainland. I bet she just got so sick of it. So at first I was, oh man, this is a protest song and stuff like that. And boy, they started out there. The one guy, the lead singer, he had a real rug on him. What they? Anyway, they were one hit, not so wonders. They were pretty bad. I'm trying to protect Pauline from hearing that song. You've never heard that one, right, Pauline?
Oh, no, I don't think
Then
so.
they had someone I'd never heard of, Mary McCaslin, doing a version of Beatles' Help. Pauline thought it was
I
better
liked
than
it.
the original. I liked it pretty good. Different take on it.
Yeah.
It was still fast, but it was just acoustic.
Yeah,
So-
I thought she did a good job.
She
liked,
thought she did better than the Beatles.
Yep.
It's hard, the Beatles had harmonies going, they had the drums going, like when it's kind of meditative, the verses, and then the drums come in and he's kind of like almost
I
screaming,
thought the
help
way
me if
she
you
sang,
can.
please, won't you please help me? I
Yeah.
thought that sounded
Well, she's probably
really beautiful, the way she sung it, but also kind of desperate,
Yeah.
and that's supposed to be, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I thought
So
she did a good job.
The big trouble is she didn't have Paul McCartney screaming, please, behind her, the way John Lennon did in the original. Probably George Harrison screaming a little bit, but that wouldn't have made much difference. And, oh my God. Okay, then there was Mary Hopkin doing the George Martin arranged There's No Business, like show business, George Martin.
Oh yeah, that was terrible.
It didn't do a good job arranging that. He was the Beatles producer. And except for the White Album, together, Paul McCartney was not the producer in that one. I think George Martin took it. Then I just finished watching Arby Grease, and I'm going to deal with Pete Seeger here. They came out here. Bring them home. If you love the USA, bring them home. Bring them. Oh, if you love Uncle Sam, bring them home. Bring them home. Bring the boys back from Vietnam. Bring them home. Bring them home. Hey, Pete. I think you're dead now. You should have died of embarrassment, because he was saying, I'm not, one thing I got to confess, I'm not a pacifist. Of course not. You're a commie, stupid chimp. And of course he was saying, if someone invades the USA, I'll be there fighting. No, you wouldn't have been. Not if it had been the commies, you stupid a-hole.
So
Sorry about working blue there.
no,
but,
that's all right.
He was a stupid, ugly chimp, a Stalinist. Okay?
Buddy. So this was the show that I watched about dogs, service dogs and their owners. And it actually, you have to read subtitles to watch it. And it wasn't as entertaining as I'd hoped. It got me wondering though. I was like, well, who cleans up the dog poop? If a person's blind and the dog is leading them around, or if if the person's in a wheelchair and can't do, then anyway, it just got me thinking about that. So I don't know, but yeah, it wasn't a great documentary. They tried.
Nice dogs on the back, though.
Well, they were very nice dogs. I can't imagine a service dog wouldn't be a nice dog. They have to be. They were very good working dogs. They did a very good job.
They bring service dogs into the cancer clinic when I'm there, probably when I'm not there. And it's maybe not the best idea, because people be petting them in the COVID era, and they'll be spreading COVID. But I don't even pet them when I wear gloves as well as the heaviest duty mask I've been able to find, short of something on a hazmat suit.
But dogs certainly do help us.
I like looking at them. You know what I'm saying? I just go, oh man, I'm feeling so much better. Already on like.
And this is bottom of the stack for sure. This Delgo is terrible. I can't imagine anybody would want to watch it, but maybe some very stupid, aggressive 10-year-old boys, maybe.
Well, there's a few of them out there.
It's bad. The animation is decent. It's just pointless. I really didn't like it at all. So.
What does Delgo stand for?
Well, it was a character's name.
Or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Well, one of the characters' name was Philo, and I'm like, okay, so the person just looked at a box of Philo pastry and went, oh yeah, that'll work. So you have 3 minutes to talk about.
Well, I'll talk a little bit more about this.
Oh, about the music. Okay.
I didn't want to take up too much time.
Sure.
So I'm going to preview what I'm going to be looking at. So I saw most of the first list. I'm chowing down while I'm eating. Spoiler alert. I'm going to do that every so occasionally. Trying to get stuff in. It doesn't conform to Miss Manners' idea of good manners, but what the heck? You don't like it? Tune out. So I want to see James Brown and Mr. First time through. Mother Popcorn, whatever that means. And Keith Barber, Echo Park. Based in Los Angeles, I gather. Ron Zevon sang about it in a song called Carmelita. I want to hear Everly Brothers singing Bowling Green again. I always like that song. Going back to when it was released. Don't want to see Dusty Springfield terribly much. Singing A Brand New Me and The Look of Love. That's maybe her biggest hit. And then there's Everly Brothers Medley, Kathy's Clown. And All I Have to Do is Dream, Wake Up Little Susie. Pretty sure they did all of this stuff live with their guitars, and they sounded pretty well liked on record, except they don't have the harmony singers in the back and orchestras.
So since we still have this one,
which one?
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, how would you rate that against this one?
Well, I kind of like this one maybe a little bit better.
You like the music scene more?
Well,
interesting.
You know, it's a little more variety. They had a little bit of repetition on that one. I really enjoyed this, but I enjoyed both of them, I gotta say. It's just with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, you just see this downward decline. You know, like the greatest thing they ever did, even with Neil Young, by far, was Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. Which album was that on? 1969. And it's their first one, even before Neil Young joined. It was all basically downhill from there. Every so occasionally they'd do something, and you know, like as they got old, you know, fat and spoiled and stuff like that. It's a real a counter advertisement for drug use. Don't try this at home, or if you're a rock group, on the road. Don't try drugs. Don't even try them. I've been on opioids, didn't have any choice. I was in that bad shape with bone marrow cancer. I didn't want to go on them. I cold turkeyed on them after a year's use. And I didn't miss them at all. I was nauseated.